Hello, in this video we are going to see the comparison between instance, class and static method. So you can see this chart, this is the simplest explanation of the difference between instance, class and a static method. So instance method bound to the object of a class versus class method bound to the class. And static method also bound to the class. Instance method can modify the object state. Class method can modify the class state. Static method cannot modify either class state or object state. Can access and modify both class and instance variable using instance method. Class method used to create a factory method, which we just saw in the class method. Static method cannot access or modify the class and instance variable. This is the simplest explanation, and this is elaborated here in 3 different points or 3 different sections. So instance method perform a set of action on a data or a value provided by an instance variable. If you use the instance variable inside a method, such methods are called instance methods. Class method is method that is called on the class itself, not on a specific object instance. Therefore, it belongs to the class level and all class instances share the class method. Static method is general utility method that performs a task in an isolation. This method does not have access to the instance or class variable. Class method used to access or modify the class state. It can modify the class state by changing the value of a class variable that would apply across all the class object. Instance method acts as an object attribute. Instance method acts on the object's attribute. It can modify the object state by changing the value of an instance variable. Last, static methods have a limited use because they don't have access to attributes of an object, which is instance variables, class attributes, class variables. However, they can be helpful in utilities such as conversion from one type to another. In the last section, the instance method can access both class level and object attributes. Therefore, it can modify the object state. Class method can only access the class level attributes, there it can modify the class state. Static method does not have access to the class attribute and instance attribute, therefore it can modify the class or object state. So we can clearly see the difference between these 3 methods: class, instance and static method. And we are going to see them in use with this coding example. So we have a class called student. Inside that we have a class variable, which is a school name. Then we have a constructor to initialize this class. Then we have an instance method. Then we have a class method. And then we have a static method as well. And you can see the difference between the syntax of each. Now let's create an object. So JSA is an object. And now just call the instance method. And you can see here in the instance method, we are going to show the student and the school. And you can see the result: school JSAT 12 and the school is ABC school. Now let's call the class method. Class name dot class method name, and this is your class method. XYZ is a school name, and you can see cls.school was the previous name, and we just changed the class state by changing the class variable, and school name changed to, and you can see the result XYZ. I forgot to call the static method, so I just did some changes and run again the code. So this is how we can call the static method. We can use the object name, or without object name also we can call the static method. And since we cannot access the instance or class attribute that is static method, that's where we just return the list of chapter 1, chapter 2 and chapter 3, and this is going to be the result. So this is how we can create, access the instance method, class method and static method